the invite's not opening for me. Can you
Yeah,
email?
I'll send you the, I think it's a Google issue.
Okay.
Robert Smith had the same issue, so let me just send you. Okay, here it comes. Okay. Get it?
1 second, not yet. Okay, got it.
Cool.
All right. Are you able to do roll call, or do you need to make that call?
Nope, I got it.
Okay. All right, we'll bring the meeting to order. And Ann, if you could do a roll call.
All righty. Chief Solberg.
Here.
Kent Volkmer. Absent. He was going to be gone. Joe Brocious. Sheriff Dedman.
Here.
Director Jorgensen.
Sue Trask is here for director.
Colonel Jeffrey Glover.
Walter Mercer for Director Glover.
Rachel Mitchell.
Leslie Laments on behalf of Rachel Mitchell for Maricopa County.
Thank you. Sheriff Paul Penzone. Chief Alanese. Robert Smith.
Here.
Brian Wright. And Brad Conley.
Here.
Great. We're all set.
All righty, thank you. We will start out with the chairman's report. Oh, that's me. Sorry. Can we get a review and a motion to approve the March 31st, 2023 board meeting minutes?
Motion.
Thank you. Did we get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now moving to Director McGuffen's report. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members, good morning. First thing today, I would just like to mention that there's going to be a board member change with DPS. DPS has restructured the Vehicle Theft Task Force into a different bureau now, which results in a board member change. So Major Mercer, even though he's here today, has actually left the board. He's here in place of Major Damon Cecil, who will be the new board member. So on behalf of ATA, I'd like to thank Major Mercer for all he's done for the board and for ATA. Specifically, Captain Axland mentioned to me this week how generous Major Mercer has been with the Border Strike Force dollars that were under his control, and has been able to supplement some of the Vehicle Theft Task Force needs. So, thank you very much, Major Mercer, and we are going to miss you. So moving on to the fiscal 24 budget. Budget passed much earlier than expected. Early on, we expected that this could go, late June, longer. And so it was really a surprise to have it completed in May. So all ATA submissions were approved. That included $431,000 for vertical prosecution program, which represented a 46% increase to that program. So really significant there. That made it for where there was full funding for existing positions within vertical prosecution. It also included 2 new prosecutors, one for Pinal and one for Pima. And we expect that that appropriation will be outpaced pretty quickly. In other words, with salary increases and ERE increases, it will not cover fully, but it was really a nice injection of money into that system right now, so into that program. So that was great. $154,000 annually for the ACT subscription, so we won't have to worry about cobbling together different money like we've had to do the first year. So that was very timely and very much appreciated. We also have $68,000 going to the task force in a one-time supplement for fuel costs. And over the last 3 years, the ATA appropriation has increased from 5.3 million to where it currently sits for FY24, 6.8, which represents a 28% increase in appropriation. So, we've been fortunate. The state revenues have been good, and we have been in a position to move forward along with that wave. So 28% increase is pretty healthy for the program. So we're just very pleased with what we've been able to do with the budget. So moving on with some more kind of budget stuff, promotional item expenditures for the ATA. We have ordered a pretty good quantity of promotional items to include challenge coins, keychains, and a variety of giveaway items with our logo and with our message on it. We've spent $13,588 in the last couple months to get those supplies in, and we will use those during outreach programs, and we will give those away to other agencies when they have events that we can't attend. I wanted to mention a presentation that I was involved in back in May. I presented at an NICB conference over in Mesa. The title of that presentation was Arizona Vehicle Crime Trends, and presented on the kind of the history and current status of Arizona stolens, the ACT database, and then crime trends around the state. I wanted to mention the assistance that I received from the task force sergeants who gave me the information about what they were seeing in all parts of the state, north, central, and south. And then also Amanda for a lot of help with the presentation, and Mary Gordon, our analyst, for all that she contributed to that as well. So that presentation seemed to go pretty well. The next item is a new initiative that we're going to push out in July. With the addition of the ACT database, we now have an opportunity to engage with our partners and stakeholders on much more timely data and information. So in July, we will issue what will become a quarterly newsletter, is what we anticipate. And the goal is to provide information on interesting topics to keep the vehicle theft issue in the conversation with both law enforcement and just different recipients of this newsletter. Our first issue will go out early July, and it will cover the Kia Hyundai issue that's going on in the state right now that we've been talking about and we'll continue to talk about today. Which kind of does lead me into that next item, which is it's actually an ACT database success story, and it involved a Kia Hyundai inquiry from K-Gun, which is a media outlet down in Tucson. They were interested in Kia Hyundai stolen because it's become quite a deal in Pima County, and so Mary was able to pull the stats for us for the last 4 months. I used those stats during an interview on camera with K-Gun. I also provided them with a stat sheet, which kind of broke down both Tucson and the rest of Pima County. And then we were able to highlight some tips and the actual problem that's occurring down in southern Arizona, which is actually more impactful in Tucson than it is in Maricopa County. Even though the number of stolens is less in volume, their percentage of where they rank is actually higher than what it is in Maricopa County. I know I say this probably every time we meet, but this would not be possible without the ACT database to be able to go in and quickly pull those numbers and provide this information in a timely manner. So, and with that, I would like to present my screen quickly and talk briefly about what we're seeing recently with Kia Hyundai. So with Kia Hyundai, the information is not good. We were hoping that we were going to see some flat line and then some actual declines in the number of stolen vehicles that involve these two models. Unfortunately, what we've seen is an all-time high for the month of May. And so just to kind of refresh you, you're seeing about a May to May, about 13 months here of data. You can see in May and summer of 2022, we had about 100 thefts. And then all of a sudden in September, we saw that sharp increase in thefts around the state. And we thought we had reached a high in January of 2023. We saw a little bit of a dip. We thought that was encouraging. And then all of a sudden May hit and we had 317 Kia Hyundai stolen in the month of May. So things are not slowing down in that regard. Move on to the next one. This is the top, where they place, where Kia and Hyundai place in the top 15. So we are seeing a little bit of, I guess, stagnation here. It's not rising anymore. It's been kind of flatlined, especially for Kia, been at the number 3 position since November. And Hyundai reached the number 4 position and seems to be holding steady there as well. And then the last slide that I'll present here is just what that total picture looks like, that May through May. We had 21,983 stolen vehicles during that time frame. 2,430 of those were either Kias or Hyundais. And so Kia and Hyundai make up 11% of our total stolens, and that number is creeping up, just like 1 percentage point. Every time I check it, it seems to be going up like 1 percentage point. If we looked at just the affected models, which are 2011 through 2021 Kias and Hyundais, and it's not all of those, they are broken down in there, but that is that date range that we're particularly concerned about. 9%, they represent 9% of our stolen. So the other 2% are other Kias and Hyundais that do not fall within that time frame. So that's what I have on that. I will stop sharing this. And Mr. Chairman, and members, the last item I have today is an action item, which is an interagency service agreement. This is the year-end ISA. This is the second of 2 that we normally do. It is a $135,000 request, and that covers vehicle buildup. It also allows for other spending discretion within the task force, but generally speaking, this is what we put it there. The first ISA is for vehicle purchase. The second ISA that we do is for buildup when DPS has an opportunity to get those vehicles built. And I am requesting board approval for an ISA between ATA and DPS in the amount of $135,000.
Thank you, Director McGuffin. Does anyone have any questions or comments reference the ISA? All right, hearing none, if we could get a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the ISA grant.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Brad. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any?
This is Walter Mercer. I'm going to recuse myself.
Thank you, Walter. I always forget. Thank you. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. That passes. Director McGuffin, back to you.
Mr. Chairman, members, that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to Frank Sabalas for our financial report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to go ahead and present my screen here. Okay. At the end of May, the Auto Theft Authority had $10,554,000 in the fund balance. I want to talk about this year's revenue. With both assessments periods this year, we had a little bit of an increase, over 3% for this year. The biggest increase we had was in our investment income category. It actually increased over FY22 by 739%. So we were doing really well in our investments. So our total revenue for FY23 is about $7,519,000. Appropriation, we have spent $462,153, giving us $237,247 to spend. And I'll share with you in the expenditure plan how we're spending some of that money. Grants, we spent over $5,308,000, giving us $101,580 available. And I'm going to explain why that number is so high here in a minute. And then lastly, our Sims fund balance of $1,432. So let me go ahead and pull up the expenditure plan for FY23. I will zoom in on this because it's even hard for me to see. Okay, so what I want to show you is this area over here. This is our grant category for vertical prosecution. Because of some of the issues that Mojave County has had with losing their prosecutor, we have asked for them to return the remaining balance of their funds. So that's why we have an increase of $32,000. We will have available $69,000, a little over $69,000 to grant out to law enforcement grants that you will all hear shortly. And at the very bottom, the $135,000 that Director McGuffin presented to DPS. As you can see, it shows that we are going to return about $156,000. You have to subtract the $50,000 for the reimbursable program. So we're really putting back into our fund balance about $106,000 that we just really couldn't spend at this time. Any questions about the expenditure plan as you see it for FY23? With none of that, can I get a motion to approve the FY23 expenditure and as I presented it?
Motion to approve grants as described.
Thank you, Robert. Can we get a second?
Mr.
I'll
Chair,
second.
was the motion,
and-
sorry, Mr. Chair, was the motion to approve the spending plan? I think Robert said grants.
Motion to approve the spending plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Second?
I'll second.
I think that was Brad. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right,
Okay.
Frank, that passes.
All right, so I'm going to switch over now to FY24 as Director McGuffin kind of already gave you guys a lot of information about our FY24 budget. We have been appropriated a little over $6,800,000. I am projecting, and I discussed this with Director McGuffin the other day, about a 2% increase with the assessment for ATA for 23A and 23B assessment periods, instead of the 3% that we had this past budget year. The biggest thing here that I'm going to show is operation for the first month in July. We're going to be doing a sponsorship for the AATA conference that's in September. So we are going to be a sponsor of that. So that's going to be about, I think, a $5,000 charge that we'll be paying out here in the beginning of July. As Director McGuffin mentioned, the vertical prosecution category did increase to $1,388,000 for grants, not just vertical prosecution grants total. So that number has increased. So we're looking at granting out potentially for vertical prosecutions, $340,550 each quarter. And I know that those grants will be presented to the board here shortly. And at the very bottom down here is the task force. The additional money for the fuel that Mr. Director McGuffin mentioned is included in their appropriation. So it's going to be broken out over 4 quarters. So their new appropriation per quarter is $1,130,300. And then the $154,000 that you see down here is what Director McGuffin mentioned for the ACT database subscription. So that is down here, so we can keep track of that as well. Everything else for the authority is pretty standard. Nothing else has changed. We are not in FY24. We are not going to be doing a audit with Heinfeld and Meach. That won't happen until FY25. So there won't be any cost for that at this time. Any questions about the FY24 expenditure plan as I presented it? At this moment in time, I will point out that we are looking at the end of FY24 with a fund balance over $11 million. I will share that with you all. If there are no questions, can I get an approval to move forward with the FY24 expenditure plan?
Motion to approve plan.
Thank you, Robert. Second. Do we have a? Thank you, Brad. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. Frank,
All right,
anything
Mr.
else?
Chairman, members of the board, concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. All right, next to Ann for the ATA Public Awareness and Grant Programs report.
All right. Mr. Chair, members, staff have been busy trying to spend, as Frank mentioned, about $69,000 we had available for the end of the will So we solicited grant solicitations earlier in March, and we'll be presenting those under the Law Enforcement Subcommittee report next. The fiscal year 24 grants, those, the task force and the vertical prosecution, I just want to note, this was the first year that those applications and reviews were completed in the new eCivis grant management system, which a lot of state agencies have migrated to. And so I want to thank the agencies for their patience in working through that system. It seemed like it went pretty smoothly, and just want to thank everyone. So that'll be the new system that we'll utilize for grant management, grant submissions, and approvals going forward. The next item is Oro Valley Police Department. We have a request from Oro Valley Police Department. This is a request that was not part of our original grant request that came in, which we'll present next. This is a grant from Oro Valley Police Department for $12,000 for the purchase of 2 flock cameras and the installation of that. Oro Valley Police Department, I believe we have Chief Cara Riley on the phone, if she has anything else to add or if we have any questions for her. Their grant is basically to hit all of the ingress and outgress points into and out of Oro Valley. And we're excited to be able to, that's a staff recommendation, so we need a full board approval to approve that grant.
All right, thank you. Chief Riley, anything to add before we take a vote?
Well, good morning, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here with you today. It's nice to see some friends from the past and new friends. But yeah, we have had a lot of success with the flock camera system in our community and have a recovery rate of about 54%. So we've been very fortunate with this system and just wanted to expand it. So I appreciate the consideration for the grant.
All right, thank you, Chief Riley. Any discussion before we make a motion? All right, if we get a motion to approve a grant for Oro Valley for $12,000.
Motion to approve the grant as described.
Thank you. Brad's got the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? All right, congratulations, Chief Riley.
Right, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next agenda item is our vertical prosecution grant contract compliance reviews. We performed our final fiscal year 23 CCNRs for Pima and Santa Cruz counties. We reviewed 2 quarters. Typically, we just do 1 quarter at a time, but we reviewed second and third quarter for those agencies. And I want to thank the staff and the vertical prosecutors for assisting with pulling together information. Both of those counties were found to be in compliance with a score of 42 out of 45. So there were just some reporting issues that we need to work through with those 2 counties. And so financial and some performance reporting. So I've been in contact with staff, so we'll work through that going forward. Any questions on those? All right, I'm going to share my screen and present just some of the DIFI's public information campaigns we've worked on since our last board meeting. All right, can you see my screen?
Yep.
So since we last met in March, the Auto Theft Authority has developed a campaign, Prevent the Jump In, which is basically when folks are stopping off for their morning coffee, running into the dry cleaners or childcare, reminding folks to lock their doors, not to leave their keys in, turn off their car. So that was just some of the slides that we presented during that campaign. Another Park Smart, Lock Your Doors campaign. These graphics were all done by in-house by Amanda O'Halloran. As you all know, she can't be with us here today, but this is all of her great handiwork. And then finally, a campaign about joyrides and educating folks and hopefully trying to get to some of the younger parents of younger kids that it's not just a joyride, it's a serious crime. And so I know our prosecutors can speak to that and the teens and juveniles that they see coming through the system. So one of our other campaigns. All right, that's what we have so far. We've got some other campaigns coming up for the summer, general auto theft prevention and a general auto theft prevention campaigns. So unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
All right, I don't hear anything. Next up is the Law Enforcement Subcommittee report. As had been mentioned, we met earlier in the week and went over several grant requests. Anne, can you provide a summary of each one? All right.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. So as Chief mentioned, we had a law enforcement subcommittee. The subcommittee reviewed these grants. As Frank mentioned, we had a small but larger than usual pot of money, fiscal year 23 end of year funding to push out in the amount of about $69,000. The 4 grants that came in that we reviewed, the subcommittee reviewed on Wednesday, those 4 grants totaled $55,615.52. St. John's Police Department, Show Low PD, Navajo County, Apache County, Pine Top, Show Low, all of those regional areas are seeking flock cameras to assist in their area. The grant request was for $15,819.50. Subcommittee recommendation was for that amount. And so So that's the request amount that we're seeking, or approval that we need to seek for that.
Thank you. Can we get a motion for the St. John's PD multi-agency partnership in the amount of $15,819.50?
Motion to approve grant as described.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, our next grant is Glendale, sorry, Glendale Police Department. They're seeking law enforcement equipment for their property crimes and auto theft folks in the amount of $15,826.02. Subcommittee recommendation was to fully fund that grant.
All right, if we can get a motion, as mentioned, Glendale PD, $15,826.02.
Motion to approve Glendale PD grant.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brad. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And Surprise PD?
Surprise PD. Surprise PD is seeking a grant for $19,000 for flock cameras, as well as some VIN etching equipment to perform catalytic converter etching in their jurisdiction. The request was for $19,000. Subcommittee recommendation is for $19,000.
Thank you. We get a motion for approval for the Surprise PD for $19,000.
Motion to approve Surprise PD grant.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. La Paz County?
Right, La Paz County Sheriff's Office Surprise. La Paz County Sheriff's Office is request for $4,972 for 10 stop sticks to assist. We funded them 2 grant cycles ago, 2 flock cameras for their jurisdiction, and the stop sticks will help with the interdiction of those vehicles when they do get a flock camera hit. So subcommittee recommendation was to fully fund the grant at $4,970.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to approve the La Paz County Sheriff's Office grant for $4,970?
Motion to approve grant as described.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next up is the the DPS Vehicle Task Force grant.
Right. Mr. Chair, members, the vehicle theft task force grant request came in this year at I have so many numbers in front of me. A little over 4 million. Hold on. Where is that number?
The agenda shows 4,521,200. Is that correct?
Actually, but the request amount, I'm sorry, here's my number. $4,985,210 was their submission request. Staff recommendation based on the fiscal year 24 budget appropriation for the task force, which is line itemed, is the $4,521,200. And subcommittee recommendation was to fund staff recommendation.
Thank you, Ann. Can we get a motion to approve the DPS Task Force grant in $4,521,200?
Motion to approve grant as described.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Actually, sorry, Mercer.
Yeah, I will
can you-
repeat myself, yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Everyone except for Mercer, please vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any
opposed? All right, thank you. Next up, vertical prosecution grants.
All right. Mr. Chair, members, fiscal year 24 vertical prosecution grant request. If you all can see my screen, I have a spreadsheet up of the 6 different counties, what their fiscal year 23 award was, which was the $930,942, which was the funding level that the vertical prosecutors have been at for the last several years, 6, 7+ years. As you know and may recall, the Auto Theft Authority put through a budget submission increase for the vertical prosecutors. A little over 441,000, I believe, was approved for fiscal year 24. Prior to that, we had asked the agencies to let us know what fully funding would look like for their programs, to tell us, you know, big wish list, what if they could have in a perfect world everything for their vertical prosecution request. So those column C are those numbers that came in from the agency, which are basically the numbers that we presented to put through for the budget appropriation. So, and those totaled $1,362,093. The fiscal year 24 grant requests came in, for the most part, everybody came in a little bit higher. Some agencies came in a lot higher than originally targeted. So basically staff task and then presenting it to the subcommittee was to determine what level to keep these folks at. So we were able to offer increases for most agencies. I think Pima will receive an additional prosecutor, as will Pinal County receive an additional prosecutor, which is something that those agencies, those counties have been seeking for a good long while. So the law enforcement subcommittee recommendation for all 6 counties is $1,362,093. Any questions?
Thank you, Ann. All right. Hearing none, I think the only one we have a conflict is Maricopa. So
And Pinal.
I'm going to read.
Oh, yeah,
and
but
Pinal is
Ken's not here.
he's
Never
not
mind.
here, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to read off of the agenda. They're in a little bit different order.
Perfect.
La Paz County Attorney's Office in the amount of $139,393. If we can get a motion for approval.
Motion to approve grant as described.
Thank you. In a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And those
Aye.
opposed? Those opposed? All right. Next up is Pima County Attorney's Office in the amount of $358,832. We can get a motion for approval.
Motion to approve Pima County Attorney's Office grant.
Thank you. In a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Never mind.
And yep, we're good. And then any opposed to that? Okay. Next up, Maricopa County Attorney's Office in the amount of $291,399. And for this, Leslie from Maricopa County Attorney's Office will need to recuse herself. Can we get a motion for approval?
Motion to approve Maricopa County Attorney's Office grant.
Thank you. In a second.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Mojave County Attorney's Office, $151,456. Can we get a motion to approve that grant?
Motion to approve the Mojave County Attorney's Office grant.
Thank you. And a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Next up is Pinal County Attorney's Office in the amount of $340,218. Motion for approval.
Motion to approve the Pinal County Attorney's Office grant.
Thank you. And a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Last grant is the Santa Cruz County Attorney's Office in the amount of $80,795. Motion for approval.
Motion to approve the Santa Cruz County Attorney's Office grant.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. That concludes the Law Enforcement Subcommittee report and the grant submissions. Next up, Robert Smith. Is there a Public Awareness Subcommittee report?
Nothing to add beyond what Ann spoke of earlier today.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you. Next up is the Vertical Prosecution Subcommittee and Auto Theft Prosecutors report. Ann, are you taking lead on this?
Sure. I know we have Leslie on the phone as well. I know we have Maricopa and maybe just Pinnell on the call today. So if Leslie's available and wants to give a report, we'll let her start off.
Good morning, board members. Yeah, we have a few things to report regarding some case dispositions that have happened over the past few months. We've had defendant Tylon Kieran, who had fraud schemes. He purchased several vehicles online using purchased IDs from the dark web. He got 5 years in that case. He also received 7.5 years in a related aggravated taking the identity case. Joseph Washington, he has shoplifting with an artifice, and they were watching him in terms of a stolen truck. He drove it to a Sam's Club. Mr. Washington, they were getting ready to take him into custody. He burst through the emergency exit of the Costco, right where the detectives happened to be meeting, pushing a cart filled with more than 50 items he planned to sell on the street to buy drugs. So it was a pretty easy apprehension for them. And he was sentenced to 4.5 years in the Department of Corrections. His co-defendant is still pending. Tariq Chambers, he was a theft of means of transportation charge. The detectives were doing routine patrol near a Knights Inn parking lot, and they started to surveil a stolen Mercedes. He occupied the vehicle and was taken into custody. Mr. Chambers is a documented gang member, has a very violent history. He was sentenced to 6.5 years for this theft of means and 15 years for an accompanying aggravated assault case that he was on felony release for at the time of the theft of means case. We have Marco Mendoza, another theft of means case with Detective Robinson. They were surveilling a stolen 2007 Toyota at various motels that was being operated by Mr. Mendoza. He was apprehended. He had a shaved down key. The column was cracked. Said it belonged to his cousin, but he didn't know his cousin's name. They caught him on surveillance video as well. He has 4 priors. He pled to 6.5 years prison in the task force case. His sentencing is currently set for July 7th. He's being sentenced in conjunction with a second-degree murder case. That has a range of 20 to 25 years. In that case, he killed someone while stealing a car while on release in his task force case. So, and the recommendation for those 2 cases are consecutive prison terms. We've also noticed an increased trend among the VTTF submittals that of major drug sales accompanying our VTTF cases. We've had a few defendants where one with a pound of fentanyl, another with over 2 pounds of cocaine hidden in his child's closet. So the street values are in the tens of thousands of dollars. And in both cases, interestingly enough, in addition to the high level of drugs and drug sale product, they've had weapons while being prohibited possessors. So we're seeing that trend and an uptick in those cases in our task force submittals. Oh, I'm sorry, one more. There was a case that Frank Woods had prosecuted where it was an insurance fraud case, and he did get an award of $20,000 in restitution to the insurance carrier.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. We have Nick Hartman on the phone, and after that, we do have Shauna Brosman from La Paz.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, Board. Just wanted to highlight a few things. One of my cases, State versus Neil Parker, we were able to secure restitution requests through a restitution hearing of $20,216 just on that case. We did the same thing through a contested restitution hearing, State versus Gracie Skaggs, and we were able to secure to a private owner due to the vehicle being completely totaled based on a auto theft and unlawful flight, $32,278.06 to that victim. The third case I wanted to talk about is a sentencing, State versus Michael Croats. It was a pretty big case in Pinal County where several stolen vehicles were found on this lot associated with the defendant. It was a great investigation. There was 3, 4, 5 stolen vehicles on that lot. It appeared that they were either being stripped for parts or being sold online. We were able to have that defendant enter a plea of 11 years in Department of Corrections with not a lot of criminal history, but egregious enough that he was obviously part of kind of a stolen vehicle ring. The second group of cases I wanted to talk about, I recently took to trial, State versus Frederick Neal. On the first case, it was a drug case. It was 10 years in Department of Corrections, and then I followed up taking him to trial on the auto theft case right after. The theft of means of transportation case, he was just recently sentenced to 11.25 years in Department of Corrections. On that case, the defendant had 12 priors. He was on release. So we were able to secure convictions on both that. With the second case, the 11.25 years, that was also tailed with a residential burglary that he broke into the house. Luckily, nothing happened. The owner was in the house on the second story. The defendant was able to take his keys and then take the vehicle to a local dealership, try to trade in that vehicle, and ended up taking the dealership vehicle, and the police were able to encounter him, arrest him, and then we were able to take that case to trial, and the offers on those cases were close to 10 years. It was borderline a trial offer. We needed to get him off the street, so we were able to do that. Another highlight that I wanted to hit on is Pinal County Attorney's Office just did, and we often do this, but I was part of it. I was able to be an instructor on the testimony boot camp for various officers and agencies in Pinal County. It was a big success. We had a wide range of experienced officers to officers just getting out of the academy, as far as the instructing, and then we had lots of practicals, how to get evidence in, forming that foundation, having the officers talk about their training experience, and just kind of wanted to highlight it. It was very interesting, just the different years of experienced officers. I had an officer that was doing it for about 20 years, but it's only testified in jury trial once. So that was really interesting, just not taking that time of experience as an officer and really hitting it on jury trials. And even if officers testify in trial 4 or 5 times a year, everyone gets rusty, even the prosecutors. So it was a good practical for everyone. It was great to make contact with all those agencies and have the ability to talk out things that often occur in trial to help us do better as prosecutors as well as law enforcement. So that was a great program. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. We have Shauna from La Paz County on the phone.
Good morning.
Hi.
So we have one pretty good highlight case, Joseph Logan. This was actually a case that had been in warrant status from 2018. We were finally able to have this case sentenced where he received 2.5 years in Department of Corrections with a restitution of amount ordered of $6,274.22.
Great. Thank you, Shauna.
Welcome.
All right. I believe that is it for vertical prosecution today.
All right, thank you. Next up, Captain Mercer, for the last time. We've enjoyed having you as part of the committee. Good luck on your new adventure. But if you turn it over to you for your final report.
So that'll be well, Major Mercer's is leaving. I'm staying here for the.
Sorry.
Right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The following are stolen vehicles, drug seizures, and arrests for March 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2023. The task force recovered 543 stolen vehicles valued at approximately $11,580,411 with 127 arrests. 50 of those 127 arrests had drug charges. The task force seized approximately 5 pounds of marijuana, 2.1 pounds of cocaine, 7.4 ounces of methamphetamine, and 5.5 pounds of fentanyl. The task force served 13 residential or business structure search warrants, 2 vehicle search warrants, and 5 electronic search warrants. The task force had 840 other agency assists. The task force seized 15 guns, 3 of which were stolen. Events, trends. On April 4th, 2023, Tucson Task Force detectives conducted a multiple business salvage yard inspection operation. One of the inspections and subsequent search warrant yielded the recovery of 7 stolen vehicles. On May 15th and May 16th, 2023, Task Force detectives conducted auto theft training for the DPS Mojave Investigation Squad up in Kingman. The training included classroom and hands-on training in the field operations where detectives worked side by side. Task Force detectives resulted in 2 business inspections, a search warrant served on a chop shop, and 10 vehicles recovered, including 1 VIN switch. On May 30th, Task Force detectives recovered a stolen VIN switch Ferrari and SRT Charger. Further investigation led to 2 residential and 1 vehicle search warrant. Detectives seized almost 2 pounds of cocaine, 5 pounds of marijuana packaged for sale, 1 AR-15, 1 handgun, documents related to the case, and $14,000 in cash. 1 suspect was arrested in that operation. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Hearing none, thank you for your report.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, we have a call to the public. Is there any members of the public that would like to address the board? All right, hearing none. Next up is report of current events and anything of consideration for the board. All right, hearing none again. Anne, our next meeting, did we move it to the 22nd? All right.
Yes, sir.
So the AATA conference is that week prior, and then we've got the Chiefs conference the week of the 15th. So we will be moving our next meeting to Friday the 22nd at 10 a.m. Virtual again. So we'll please update your calendar. And with that, we will entertain a motion to adjourn. Could I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Have a good summer. We will see you all in September. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.